Welcome to another episode of Turn It Up. I'm going to start it out there with a little intro from my boys, my band, Stone Bison. It's Hammer Down, in case you didn't know. That means drink up. Every time you say hammer down, you got to take a drink. Second episode. Today's episode, I'm going to talk about why McDonald's stopped making their French fries the same as they used to. Now today I picked through 62 drummers that came from my head. I just named off 62 of my favorite drummers, not your favorite drummers, not Joe Schmo's favorite drummers, not Johnny Law's favorite drummers, but my favorite drummers. I named off 62 of them. Then I put all 62 of them onto a board and threw darts at them. That's how I came up with it. Seriously, I did a lot of thought on this. I divided it up into categories and ranked each one of them in a category. And if you'll take a little peep at this is all the categories and the scribbles and the naming off people and the putting people in. And I tried to go with my first instinct on every one of them. Not every drummer is going to make this list. Not every drummer that's good enough to make this list will make this list. Not every drummer even cares that they made Ben Westfall's list of top 10 drummers. But I thought it was going to be pretty fun and a different way of going about doing it. Something that I don't normally do when I think of this. And it really surprised me in the end after I done it. So to tell you how I did this, I ranked them all in a category, and then I put 12 people in each category. So one would get 12 points, and 12 would get 1 point. So if you finish 12th, you got a point. If you finish 12 first, you got 12 points. So the idea is, if they made it in every category and got points for every category, they would move up the chart for the final. So to start this out, who do you think made number one drummer? See the suspense in your eyes. So let's start it out. We're going to start it out with talent and skill. Talent and skill. Well, let's go with Mike Portnoy, number one on my board for talent and skill. There's nothing Mike Portnoy can't play. I'm sorry if people think he's not the most talented drummer. I do. I've seen him in every setting, and the guy just is amazing. Number two is Neil Peart. Neil Peart, that could have been number one or number two. Without Neil Peart, there might not be a Mike Portnoy. Number three is Bobby Rock. Bobby Rock? My baby Rock. I can hear you now. Watch the videos. This guy is a trained musician on drums. He's went to college for it. The guy knows everything there is to know about drum. Watch some videos on Bobby Rock, drummer. Not Bobby Rock, the producer. Not Bobby Rock, the wannabe Metallica bassist. But Bobby Rock, the drummer. Number four, John Bonham, because everybody's stolen a John Bonham lick and still do to this day. John Bonham, simply the best. Number five, Danny Carey, phenomenal drummer. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not a big guy into that music, but doesn't stop me from appreciating the skill and talent of Danny Carey. Danny Carey is a phenomenal drummer. Number 6 is Blas Elias. Blas Elias from Slaughter? Yes, Blas Elias from Slaughter. He also plays in Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and if you care to go check out a video of Blas Elias, I hope I'm saying that right, Blas Elias, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and watch the guy play on a drum set with a full orchestra, and it'll blow your mind about drumming in general. Number 7, Greg Bissonette. Greg Bissonette, you can take him, you can drop him in a jazz band, you can drop him in a Texas blues band, you can drop him in a Ringo Starr's all-star band, you can drop him down the street with a guy playing a saxophone and a harmonica, and he's still going to be a phenomenal drummer. Greg Bissonette, just awesome. Tommy Aldridge. Tommy Aldridge made number 8 on skill, and listen why Tommy Aldridge. I picked Tommy Aldridge here because you could take Tommy Aldridge and put him in any band across the world, and he makes that band better. So Tommy Aldridge. Number 9, Cozy Powell, because Cozy Powell is drums. Number 10, Vinny Appice, and Vinny Appice made this list on skill, and a lot of people might not rate him as a high skill guy, but tasty equals skill. 11, Pat Torpey. Pat Torpey, watch his instructional videos, watch everything. The guy's got impeccable sense of rhythm. Number 12, and number 12 made my list, and he might not be a technical drummer by any stretch of imagination, but he made the list from talent and skill about how hard he plays, and to me, he falls in that John Bowden category, and that's Frankie Banali. Plays drums like a lumberjack, just bad intentions. So that's 1 through 12 on talent and skill, and I feel like we can move on to the next category, which is cool factor. Calm down. Cool factor, and when I did cool factor, I was thinking, man, does that need to be in there? But there is a part of that to you for anybody picking anything. Is cool meaning visual, cool meaning listening, cool all the way around. Like a lot of people go, Ben, you're not that great of a drummer, but you're pretty cool. Get no respect even on my own show. All right, so cool factor, I'm going to start it out. And for me, number 1 cool guy in drums is Robert Sweet. The visual timekeeper, he sets his drums up sideways so you can see him play. He doesn't face it with the bass drums out. They're to the side. You can see him hitting while he's throwing his hands behind his head, slinging cymbals on chains, swinging back and forth. I mean, yellow and black striped drum kits, all different drums, but always a yellow and black pattern. Just cool, man. Steven Adler. Just cool as they come. The smile that lights up a room. I mean, he loves what he does, and that makes it cool to everybody around. That smile on his face while he's playing the drums. He's in his happy place, his best world when he's playing drums. Number 3, Mike Portnoy. Man, the guy's just cool. The guy playing the Hello Kitty drum set. Everything Mike Portnoy does is pretty cool. Number 4, Bobby Rock. Once again, Bobby Rock on here. Bobby Rock, like I said, for those of you who don't know who Bobby Rock is, you really need to check him out. He looks like Conan the Barbarian playing the drums. So definitely worth a check out in my book. Make sure that you go by and you get on your YouTube, or you can go any facet of it. When you type it in, Bobby Rock drummer is what you want to do. Because there's Bobby Rock, a producer. There's also Bobby Rock, some other guy out there, I think, that brings up when you Dude, I'm trying to pull up an image of this dude so you can see this guy. I should have been better prepared, I guess, but just a phenomenal drummer. Moving on, Pat Torpey, number 5 on the cool list. Pat Torpey's cool as they come. He kind of looked like Uncle Jesse from what's that show? Family Matters. Oh, it's Full House. Uncle Jesse from the Full House. He's a cool dude. Blas Elias, once again, Blas Elias made it just a cool drummer, plays cool technique. Vinny Appice made it again. Vinny Appice, the Man in Black, played with Dio, played with Black Sabbath, sat back behind them kits, and just always managed to be a cool dude. Number 7, Bobby Blotzer, because Bobby the Blotzer from Rat, when he walks into the room, he's the coolest guy in the room. That's all there is about it. Bobby was the definition of 80s and 90s cool. Eric Carr. Eric Carr made the list. Eric Carr, to me, is just a cool cat. The way he treated people. The Kiss fans loved him. The Japanese drum cymbals, all the stuff that Eric Carr did was cool to me. Jimmy DeAnda from the Bullet Boys. Jimmy DeAnda, just a cool guy. I mean, the licking the drumsticks, the stuff that he did. He's just a cool dude. Had a great look back in the day. Now he plays with Lynch Mob. He started with Bullet Boys. But you ever get a chance, you go to Jimmy DeAnda's Facebook page and like his Facebook page. He does live videos. He's always cool. He answers questions. When you type him in, calls you out by name. Just a cool guy. Just a really cool guy. Number 11 for me is Frankie Banelli on this list because he played drums like a lumberjack. I mean, I'm just sorry to repeat myself, but Frankie Banelli, he brought the wood when he came. Number 12, I know a lot of people are going to have this say, he's not cool, he's a sexist, whatever. But back in the day, he was cool, and that's all there is to it. Tommy Lee. Moving on to the next thing I'm going to talk about is inspiration. And inspiration is more than just like they're not the wind beneath my wings. Not that kind of inspiration, but inspiration like they inspired me to start wanting to play. They inspired me after I started playing. They inspired me to keep on playing. And so this is why they're making this list. Number 1, inspiration, it starts and stops with Robert Sweet for me. I came from a Christian household who didn't allow regular rock and roll into it. Didn't want secular music into the house, so the only metal or hard rock that I got at the time came from Christian music, and Stryper brought it in, and Robert Sweet was the guy for me. I always wanted to be a drummer at the time. Me and my best friend, Brad Warren, shout out to you, Brad. Brad was a phenomenal drummer already at like 16, 17. He'd play all day long and play, and I switched instruments just to do it, but I remember always eyeballing the drum kit going, man, Robert Sweet. Years later, it is where it is, and I'm found my way back to drums. But always what Robert Sweet is the inspiration. Number 2 for me is Peter Criss. I can remember a kid. To me, that's what drumming is. When I think of drummers, I think of Peter Criss. just a kid wanting to put the cat makeup on, playing Kiss. I mean, come on, it's everybody's dream. Phil Rudd is number 3. Phil Rudd, an inspiration. Phil Rudd makes me want to play drums. When AC/DC comes on, just like when it comes on for you, I can see you. I see what you're doing when them AC/DC songs come on. You're in your car going, oh, I can do this. I'm a drummer. That's what Phil Rudd does to everybody. Phil Rudd does that for everybody. But you find out real quick, like when you get on a drum kit, playing what Phil Rudd plays is work. And it's hard. There's nothing easy about it. But Phil Rudd inspires millions of people to play drums. If it's nothing but the beat on their steering wheel for 30 minutes, inspiring you to be a drummer. Vinny Appice makes me want to be a better drummer. It makes me, like, if I can have one gig, give me Vinny Appice's gig. Let me play in his band. Definitely an inspiration. Pat Torpey, once again, Pat Torpey's name, and you'll see how this trends. The more times these names come up, the more points are getting added to them. But Pat Torpey, inspiration, man. Just and more so after I started playing drums because of his instructional videos. 6, Steven Adler, The Smile That Lights Up the Room. That first Appetite for Destruction album inspired me to play music, so the drums definitely inspired me to be a drummer. That's where it's at for me. Number 7, Frankie Banali, because he hits so hard, and that's what I want to do. I want to beat the drums up. Number 8, Wild Mick Brown, Rockin' Like Dockin', baby, Rockin' Like Dockin'. Number 9, Bobby Rock's made the list again. Mr. Bobby Rock, just an inspiration. I can remember watching that Vinnie Vincent Invasion video back in the day, where at the end of it he pulls the drum set up and just starts throwing him, and he looks like Conan the Barbarian anyway. Just starts throwing the drum sets everywhere, and that inspired me a lot. I still have that image in my head. Quick picture right there is Mr. Bobby Rock. I don't know how that's going to turn out, but Mr. Bobby Rock right there. Sorry about the dirt underneath the fingernails, but I do work for a living, believe it or not. Number 10 on that list is Blas Elias. Just an inspiration to play drums. Mike Portnoy, and Mike Portnoy, not an inspiration to start me on drums. If somebody would have told me you got to do that to play drums when I first started, I probably would never picked up a drumstick. But after I started playing drums, I was inspired to get better by what Portnoy's doing. And even though I can't pull off some of the stuff Portnoy does, when I get done doing it, I feel like I've come up with something of my own. Even something that's sloppy of his technique sounds really cool. Number 12 on the inspiration list is Blocks, Bobby Bloxer from Rat. Just the music on that. Moving on to the next one is going to be band. Their music, their drumming inside their band, and to me that's the most important. So moving on from that, let's go right now. We're going to start it out with band, and if I'm going to start out with band, I'm going to start out with the number 1 drummer in the band. And once again, we're going back, and it's going to be Phil Rudd, AC/DC. I mean, if I got one band to be stranded on a desert island with, give me all the AC/DC albums, and Phil Rudd would be the drummer of that. Number 2 is Peter Criss. Kiss. I'm a huge Kiss fan. And people who don't know that, I'm sorry about it. People who don't like it, I could care less. But to me, Kiss is where it was at, and that guy right there, Mr. Peter Criss, that's the reason why this band sounded the way they did. His groove, his timing on these albums are just great for me, and people could say what they want, but that's where it's at for me. Moving on to my list, I'm sorry I'm getting sidetracked by stuff, but Vinny Appice, Dio, Black Sabbath, Eric Carr took over when Peter Criss left, and it didn't. That train didn't stop. Kiss kept putting out good songs with Eric Carr on drums. Number 5 on this is Robert Sweet for me. Robert Sweet once again just plays in a band that I love, and part of the reason why I love that band is his drumming. Number 6, and number 6 would be let me see. How many of you remember what I talked about last week? Well, I talked about Iron Maiden last week. I reviewed the Iron Maiden album, and if you don't like this top 10 list, there'll be more album reviews to come. But Nico made it because Iron Maiden is the band. There's an honorable mention to Clive Burr on that too. It's just I went with Nico because Nico played on more of the songs, more albums than what Clive did. But Clive played on some killer tracks. A great drummer. Go check him out too. Number 7, Pat Torpey, Mr. Big. That band is one of my favorite bands of all time. Number 8, Rockin' Like Dockin' Wild, Mick Brown. Number 9, Rat and Bobby Blotzer. Number 10, the band was the original Guns N' Roses band, and Steven Adler was on that. So, I mean, more power. Number 11, Quiet Riot and Frankie Banelli. Once again, playing like a lumberjack, hitting as hard as he can hit. Inspired me a lot. Number 12, Mike Portnoy. And Mike Portnoy would not maybe have made this list if we were talking about Dream Theater or some of his other stuff like Liquid Acid Tension and stuff like that. Even though I do enjoy that stuff, that's not my everyday cup of tea. But him and the Winery Dogs, the albums that they made with the Winery Dogs quickly became some of my favorite albums, and we'll talk about that. That'd be an album review because Winery Dogs became one of my top 5 favorite albums. And speaking of which, these are the drumsticks that I got from the Winery Dog show. I mean, these were played by Mr. Mike Portnoy. They're autographed. Just that band made a difference, and I'm sorry this is completely unprofessional, but shout out to Rogue. Rogue, if you want to drop a commercial for your boy, take it. Yeah, I'm just saying, I mean, I'll take it. We're going to move on to the next thing is stage presence.
Stage presence? Why stage presence?
Because I make up the rules. And stage presence is one of the things that you look at when you watch a drummer, how they play, how they attack the kit. I mean stuff. There's guys that play simple and precise movements. There's guys that over-exaggerate movements. There's all kinds of things. And to go with stage presence, let's start it out with none other than the one everybody loves to hate, but hate him or what, it's Mr. Tommy Lee. I know what you're saying, but come on now, come on. The guy invented a drum set that turned upside down. He got a drum set that went out above the crowd. You watched every MTV video that I did of Motley Crue too. You know you did. You seen the guy was just cool. Stage presence for days he had. So I don't want to hear all this negativity, and I'm not going to hear the negative.
Guy's just a jerk.
I'm not disagreeing that the guy's just a jerk. That's your opinion of him. Whatever you think. I don't know the guy personally. So, number 2, Robert Sweet. We talked about that earlier. Number 3, Blas Elias, slinging his arms up. This is Space for Rent. The stuff he does in Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Number 4, Vinny Appice. Vinny Appice stage presence like nobody else. He always has that. I'm gonna kill this lick, and then it just all goes hand in hand. He's up there. Bobby Rock, Conan the Barbarian on a drum set. Come on, man. You just can't get no better. Number 6, and I'm surprised this guy hasn't made the list even more. Because I really love their music. I'm a huge fan of them, and I'm not going to make no bones about it. My wheelhouse is hair metal. That's my favorite genre. I don't always call it hair metal, but whatever. It doesn't bother me. And this guy led the charge in that. But as far as what stage presence, Mr. Ricky Rocket from Poison, stick twirling behind his back, just twisting his sticks around his wrist while he's keeping a great beat, always steady drummer. I even think I once seen him, I'm pretty sure I seen him balance a drumstick on his tank. I mean, you're laughing, but I seen it. I'm pretty sure I seen it. Look it up on YouTube. I think it's on there. Number 7 is Mike Portnoy. Mike Portnoy stands up, plays drums, leads it like a choir director. He does everything there is to do. Super entertaining drummer. Number 8, a guy who hasn't made the list yet and should, is Mr. Randy Castillo. Ozzy's drummer. I mean, banged his head up, and I just got to watch the old Ozzy videos with him, and him hanging upside down by his cage. Just wraps his legs around the bars of his cage and plays upside down. Just great. Number 9, Peter Criss. Come on, the paint, the rising drum set. Number 10, Eric Carr, standing up on his drum set, always playing with high energy. Just a great drummer. Number 11, Frankie Banelli, because he hits them so hard. He plays like a lumberjack. Once again, I'll say it. Number 12, Bobby Blotzer. Come on, he lowered a 6-pack of Budweiser out of the ceiling during his drum solos and got a beer. Just a great stage presence. Moving on, we're going to go to Teacher. And Teacher wasn't something I thought of in the beginning, but now that I think of it and started getting into it, you know, a lot of these guys on these lists are no longer around. They have passed on, and what they've left is their teaching, you know, with their... Teaching can be with the ears, with the mind, with instructional videos, whatever, but they've inspired drummers. So in a way, they never really pass on. They just continue on. And so teaching, I'm going to start with number 1, and that's Mr. Pat Torpey. There's his instructional DVD videos and stuff on YouTube. You can look them up for free. Taught me more about playing drums in that first week than anything I believe I could have looked up. Number 2, who rose up this list, is Vinny Appice. And if you'll go to Vinny Appice's Facebook page and like it, he does a Behind the Kit show every Tuesday, tries to get it on every Tuesday, where he plays the drums and shows you what he's playing, and he talks about the different rudiments and stuff that he's using. Great. Just great. Number 3 is Bobby Rock. Bobby Rock got many videos on how to play. Number 4, Mike Portnoy doesn't really teach, but he sets up cameras and videotapes himself so you can watch and learn things. Number 5 is Phil Rudd, and that's all with listening. If you listen to Phil Rudd and learn to play along with Phil Rudd, you'll be a better drummer for it. Number 6 is Steven Adler. Learning these grooves, learning to slip in and out of grooves, learning to put cowbell in, mix it up, how to play cymbals along with vocal lines. That's teaching. Number 7, I've learned so much about rock and roll from this guy, and that's Alex Van Halen. And just as important as Eddie Van Halen was to guitar, Alex is to drums. Number 8, Greg Bessonette. Great videos all over YouTube on teaching drum. Number 9, Artemis Powell. Once again, that's listening. I learned how to play slow songs, learned how to play waltzes, learned how to play a lot of stuff. Some of my favorite drumming's inside Leonard Skinner, and Artemis Powell was listening. Number 10, Eric Carr. Learned a lot of my double bass techniques from Eric Carr. Number 11, Blas Elias. Just great instructional videos. Number 12, Cozy Powell. And Cozy Powell, once again, is listening. The guy just got drums. He was drums. Moving on, we're going to move on to Groove and Swing. And Groove and Swing, if you ain't got a thing if you ain't got that swing. I'm going to start it out with Steven Adler. Yes, I said Steven Adler. And here it is. Here it is. I don't care what you think. That first Appetite for Destruction album had more groove, more swing than anything that's ever been listed. No other drummer was playing like that at the time. The guy stepped in, phenomenal what he did. It's criminally underrated how much this guy gets abused on. Yeah, he had drug problems. Oh, whatever. Appetite for Destruction is the single greatest rock and roll album of my generation. To me, I don't care what you think. You start your YouTube up, I watch it and I like it. But what I'm telling you right now is there's more swing, more groove on that Appetite for Destruction album than anything I ever listened to. Then and since. I love that album. I loved everything about it. Number 2 is Phil Rudd. You don't have to play a field to get you to play along. I see it. You shook me out. Yeah, I'm not going to sing that. But I see you playing drums to it right now. I see you in your car, driving around playing drums. Number 3, Vinny Appice. I mean, swing and groove and feel, and that's where it's at. John Bonham. John Bonham, groove machine. 5, Frankie Banali's groove was a hard groove because he played so hard. 6, Bobby Blotzer, the ride cymbals, the slidiness. Bobby Blotzer don't get the credit he deserves as a drummer. Them Rad albums got some killer drumming on it. 7, Robert Sweet, all starts with that bass drum leg, and just a great drummer. Number 8, Groove and Swing, and his Mike Portnoy's in there, and probably wouldn't have made that high on this list if it wasn't for the Winery Dogs. Number 9, Pat Torpey. Load up, Addicted to This Rush, Mr. Big, and listen to the groove and swing that guy puts on the drums on that album, on that song. I mean, number 10, The Bringer of Doom, Vinnie Paul from Pantera. Man, I'm sorry Pantera ain't on here more, and I'm sorry Vinnie Paul ain't on here anymore because Vinnie Paul is one of my favorite drummers. Vinnie Paul's groove had a metal guys play metal, but that guy played Southern fried metal. It just had a whole groove of his own, him and his brother. Number 11 is Peter Criss, Come On, Rock and Roll All Night. All of them great songs. Peter Criss had a great groove. Number 12, My Father Would Be Smiling on Me from Heaven for singing this one right now. But Mr. Charlie Watt from the Rolling Stones. Charlie Watt, deservedly so. Just great groove, great timing. So that's it. That's all the categories. So now I told you how I numbered and I'm rating them up. I'm going to give you, let's start off first with the honorable mentions. Not making the top 10, but having 19 points tied on this is Eric Carr and Bobby Blotzer. So let's start with the number 10, and number 10 had 20 points, and it's the guy I talked about the whole time, so you knew he was going to come up on here, but he plays drums like a lumberjack, Mr. Frankie Banali from Quiet Riot. Hey, I know I said it, lumberjack, but Frankie's no longer with us. And if there was one guy I thought was going to beat it, it was Frankie. So I'm so glad that he made the list because Frankie truly is one of my favorite drummers. Inspired me to play the way I play. I always have love for Frankie Banali. I'm glad he made number 10 on my list. Number 9, with 21 points, is Blas Elias from Slaughter. Hey man, I told you, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Slaughter. The guy just is contend in all categories. He's up there for me, and glad he made it right there. Los Elias. Number 8, and this warms my heart that I think this way, and he still made it on here. I was a little worried that he wouldn't make my top 10, and he did. With 28 points, Peter Chris. So number 6 and number 7 were tied with the same amount of points. So I'm not going to tell you which one is 6 and which one's 7. They had the same amount of points. So in my mind, they're A and B 6. And that's Pat Torpey with 40 and Steven Adler with 40. Hey, now, how this happened, I don't know, but number 4 and number 5 are the same way. So there is no, I'm not going to rank these guys, which one's 4 and which one's 5. That's not how I'm going to do it. They had 41 points. So, really 4, 5, 6, and 7, they're 4 and 5 had 41 points, and 6 and 7 had 40. So right there, 1 point separated these guys on this list. So that just tells you right where they're at. They're all could be number 4 on my list, but number 4 and 5 is Bobby Rock and Phil Rudd. Number 3 is Mr. Mike Portnoy. Hey, number 2, the yellow and black attack himself, the guy that, my main guy, Mr. Robert Sweetstrike. All right, and that leads us to the number 1 spot. Who would you think would be the number 1 out of all these categories and stuff that I've been going through? Who would you think would be that person that would be in this number 1 spot? You've heard me name off these names and stuff, and no way do I want this to be anybody else's reflection of their top 10. Hopefully somebody is here and is like, hey man, them guys never make the top 10. I'm glad you said it, but I want you to always use your judgment in your ears and come up with who you thought was your favorite. That means more to me than anything else would. I'm just going to say that right there. But to get back to my list, number 1 on this chart is no other than Mr.
Vinny Appice.
And if you'd asked me in the beginning, Ben, who's your number 1 drummer? I probably would have said Cozy Powell. And after doing this chart, Cozy Powell didn't make it. It's a shame that he didn't make it. But Cozy Powell will always forever be one of my favorite drummers. I don't. The list may not have dictated it that way, but Vinny Appice, I couldn't think of anybody better than doing this list as representative of Ben's favorite drummer is Mr. Vinny Appice. And so that being said, that's all for Turn It Up. Hey, I appreciate you stopping by and listening. If you listen, hey, I want to give a shout out. If you're subscribing to my YouTube channel, I appreciate that and everything. But I've got 2 friends of mine that do their own, that started this, that do their own podcast, and it's called It Doesn't Matter. And It's Gary Little and Brandon Brewer, and their wife Katrina, Brandon's wife Katrina, helps out a lot with that and does a lot for that show. Swing by and check out their stuff because it doesn't matter. It's funny stuff, man. You got to check it out. I'm gonna end this episode right here, and I'm gonna play you out with a little Mr. Bobby Rock drum solo.